We will prove that African origin and consistent spreading over land never predominated, that instead humans preferred spreading through ocean currents, thus avoiding spreading over land and over Beringia. We will prove that the so-called Neanderthal DNA in modern humans did not come from Eurasian Neanderthals and was not a consequence of Africans or any other humans interbreeding with Neanderthals. Neanderthals provingly are ancient American hybrids, and if they had not been an independent group, then they interbred with Americans, and in that case could be called the real Homo Sapiens. Step 1. Paternal Group R1 today is the dominant group in the world. Its root, or cradle, lies in the Americas, and since the Neolithic, it is most concentrated on the Atlantic coasts of Western Europe. One could provisorily deduce that the Paternal Group R1 root lies in the Americas, simply since it is focused or rather exclusively on to the Americas exposed western coasts of the Eurasian part of the world, in which this group is most dominant. This in the same fashion as the second Paternal Group O, which has a kind of opposite Eurasian counterpart, is exclusively located on the opposite to the Americas exposed eastern coasts of the Eurasian part of the world. The general public is not used to studying oceans, currents, and rivers, so we draw the attention to this clear and noticeable association of Group R with the Atlantic Ocean, more specifically the part that drives from the Americas to Europe, very noticeably to the countries which are most exposed to the North Atlantic eastward ocean currents, and consequently to the Americas. Surprisingly, historically there has been extensive exchange between the Americas and Europe, this despite the Atlantic Ocean separating them. Humans traveled the Atlantic Ocean over the ocean and along the currents, this quite similar to, and together with whales, turtles, and fish. This simply so by following the strongest eastward ocean currents, also the famous and warm Gulf Stream. Once arrived on the coasts of Western Eurasia, they eventually went on to follow the combination of the rivers Rhine and Danube, this eventually until the Black Sea, which lies south of the Pontic Grasslands. It is exactly in the Pontic Grasslands where consensus wrongly recognizes these invading American and thus foreign, and consequently genetically quite different newcomers, as the origin of modern Europeans. Ancient DNA research confirms they are indeed newcomers. Something else that strongly indicates the so-called Pontic Grasslands ancestry indeed came navigating from the Americas is the fact that their genetics already from the start also were clearly present in the UK, and even in Iceland, and as said before, since before in prehistory, their prehistoric root or cradle lies in the Americas. Indigenous herder pastoralists would have been unable to cross to all these places, especially since this would have been against some of the strongest currents in the world. Further, the by consensus assumed spreading out of the grassland ancestry is extremely focused on what later will become some of the main ports of that or their part of Europe. As expected, and despite all this, consensus does not want to recognize them to be of American origin. Consequently, and as expected, consensus wrongly assumes that this by consensus unexplained so-called Pontic grassland ancestry moved to the Atlantic coasts, while the real movement was in fact from the Americas to these Atlantic natural ports and coasts. Step 2. On the other side of Eurasia dominating Paternal Group O is the second most dominant group in the world, especially so in Eastern Eurasia. Just like Group R, also this Group O is heavily associated with the prehistoric migration and expansion of agricultural populations in their part of Eurasia. Here we will illustrate that its root, once again, is in the Americas, and since its appearance in the Neolithic, this group appears on the eastern or Pacific coasts of Eurasia. We like to point out that groups R1 and O present more cultural and genetic similarity with the Americas than in between each other. This while they are both dominant in the same Eurasian landmass. If migrations really did happen over land, departing from Africa and across Eurasia or Asia, to next cross through or along a Ice Age Beringia landmass to the Americas, they should have had similarities with others over land, instead of with the Americas. Further, these similarities should appear in a linear fashion, and they do not. In reality, they appear in independent landing points, often related to some of the longest navigable rivers. These related to certain well-known, most wide-ranging ocean current systems, as the westward-bound Pacific currents, and the even wider America to Africa expansion, and again associate and present similarities with the Americas. This rather than with their neighboring groups.